Bowser's Inside Story sees Mario and Luigi stuck with Inside Bowser due to an epidemic that has swept the Mushroom Kingdom. After swelling to an incredible size, the brothers are sucked into the terrifying world of Bowser, with their goal being to ultimately find a way out and save their friends in the process. Now gameplay wise, it's a complete mix of genres, which sees the brothers exploring the environment through an overhead view, as well as several side-scrolling sections and participating in a wide range of minigame segments. It manages to break up the action nicely, but the star of the show is the way in which battles play out, and this is where the RPG elements begin to shine. Each encounter is turn-based and sees the brothers calling upon a diverse set of abilities that help manage the range of enemies that occupy the inside world of Bowser. You'll find yourself leveling up and utilizing points earned in battle to learn new moves that will give the brothers an extra edge in battle. Now Bowser's Inside Story may not be as humorous as the previous entries in the series, but it does a good job to further the formula. The DS outing of the popular Kingdom Hearts series sees players assuming the role of a boy known as Roxas. It follows his progression from birth and manages to fill in some of the gaps left by the previous outings in the franchise. Now this really is full-blown Kingdom Hearts on the DS. Visually it is quite impressive considering the limitations of the hardware, and it goes a long way in presenting an enjoyable but at the same time polished experience. Gameplay wise, much is also retained from the previous entries, with the real-time battling system feeling smooth, responsive, and most importantly deep, with the extensive range of magical abilities and attacks filling the screen with the same style and grace seen in its home console counterparts. It's a real sight to behold. Room Factory 3 manages to retain and improve nearly every aspect of the series up to this point, and presents it with confidence and style. For those not familiar with the franchise, it shares many similarities with the likes of Harvest Moon, and tasks the player with managing a farm and keeping it safe from the many dangers that wander the kingdom. The concept of farming is truly at the center of the experience, with the game being tied to seasons that are tracked by in-game months. Each of these seasons can affect the output as well as the quality of your crops, as well as having a farm to attend to. The occupants of the village in which you reside offer up quests ranging from catching fish, exploring dungeons and taking out enemies. But to keep you on your toes, any action taken within the world, even something as simple as catching fish, will consume RP. This stands for rune points, which are intricately tied to the world. It makes everything an extremely tricky but at the same time rewarding juggling act between trying to get things done within the limitations of the amount of RP you possess and also managing your farm. The World Ends With You has to be one of the most unique RPG experiences available on the Nintendo DS. As the player, you assume the role of Niku, a young antisocial kid who awakes to find that no one can see him, but he now possesses the ability to hear the thoughts of those around him. Now gameplay is where, as with most games, The World Ends With You truly shines. Each battle plays out in real time and fully utilizes the many input features of the DS in intuitive ways. It makes use of both screens. The top screen's action is controlled with the D-pad, whilst the bottom takes advantage of the stylus. At first it can be incredibly confusing trying to juggle both at the same time, but as soon as everything clicks, it becomes second nature and one of the finest aspects of the experience. The World Ends With You is now available on a myriad of systems such as the Nintendo Switch as well as iOS, so there has never been a better time to jump in and experience this one for yourself. Avalon Code comes from the same developers who produced the remakes of both Final Fantasy III and IV on the DS. Instead of another retread, it is an entirely new adventure that centers around a young child, either male or female, who is tasked with protecting a book known as the Book of Prophecy. The world around you is ending, and instead of saving it, your job is to go around and scan various objects using the book, in which to take with you and replicate in the new world. Turn-based battles take a back seat, with the action being presented in real time. A wide selection of weapons are at your disposal, with 2 slots being available, that being for your right and left hand, which correspond with the face buttons on the DS. It's a pretty unique setup and adds a nice flair to each encounter. Although not the finest RPG on the system, Avalon Code is certainly worth a look for both fans of the genre and newcomers alike. Golden Sun Dark Dawn serves as a sequel to the previous entry on the Game Boy Advance, known as The Lost Age. It picks up 30 years after the events that transpired and sees you carrying on the journey with a new generation. The player assumes the role of Matthew, the son of the previous protagonist, and is set onto an unforgettable adventure. Like the originals, Dark Dawn focuses on the use of magic known as synergy within the world, mainly for its battles, but also the various puzzles you will encounter throughout the journey. Each fight is turn-based in nature, with players being able to take advantage of a wide array of magical abilities, as well as melee attacks, that help even the odds against the horde of enemies you stumble across. Adding to this is the Djinn system. These magical creatures aid the heroes in battle, and with over 72 to unlock, all categorized by an element, there are plenty of options at your disposal. If you're a fan of RPGs and have never had the pleasure of experiencing a Golden Sun game, Dark Dawn is the perfect jumping on point, and for fans of the series, this one is a no-brainer. Originally released way back in 1991 for the Super Famicom, Dragon Quest V never made it to the West until this remake many years later for the DS. The narrative focuses on a deep, involving personal tale with an emphasis upon family, which serves the action well, and although the story that is presented is entirely competent, it's the gameplay which truly cements it as a must-have for the system. As you would expect, it plays very much like a traditional JRPG. You'll find yourself slaying monsters in turn-based battles in order to earn gold and experience points, interacting with a surprisingly large cast of NPCs, and leveling up over the course of the adventure. To see it through until the end, it'll last you about 30 hours, but due to the incredible amount of optional content, this number can be severely increased. If you're looking for a traditional JRPG experience, Dragon Quest V offers one of the finest options, and although it's not perfect, it definitely deserves a place in any fan's collection. The first and most important aspect of Devil Survivor is the incredible narrative the game presents. This quite possibly is one of the finest stories told on the system and must be experienced in order to fully appreciate it. So in the hopes of not spoiling anything, I'll instead focus on the other standout aspect, that being the gameplay. As the player, you have the freedom to explore the various districts that comprise the game world as a whole, where you can initiate conversations with NPCs that further the plot and offer advice as well as items and abilities to use in battle. Now each encounter takes place on a grid, with the action taken on a turn-based flavour that sees the player strategically moving around the grid and utilising demons in which to take on enemies. These demons are central to progression, and through the use of the fusion as well as a new auction system, new demons can be acquired and then further enhanced to form an unstoppable team. If you've ever played the likes of Persona or Nocturne, you'll feel right at home with Devil Survivor, so if you missed this one upon its release, now is the perfect time to jump in. Pokemon Heart Gold and Silver are essentially remakes of the classic entries in the series that appeared on the Nintendo Game Boy Color. They reintroduce players to the Johto region of the Pokemon world and bring with them several upgrades and changes that truly make them the best way to experience this journey. Starting off from scratch, the player is tasked with locating and defeating 8 gyms set across the region whilst capturing and nurturing a wide range of Pokemon to ultimately be crowned a Pokemon Master. Gameplay wise, it utilizes the tried and tested turn-based battling system the series has become well known for, and with up to 17 different types of Pokemon, numerous abilities and moves, the possibilities are nearly endless. The first big difference players will notice are the visuals. Thanks to the added power that the DS provides, the entire region has seen a facelift and is immensely more immersive and visceral in its appearance. Every location, NPC, Pokemon and character you interact with has received this treatment, and it does nothing but further enhance the experience. The player takes up the role of Stark, a young man who is intent on bringing an end to the war and saving what little is left of the world. Gameplay wise, Radiant Historia is one to remember. The battling system is truly engaging and rewarding. It is turn-based in nature but manages to provide a fresh take on the trope with the inclusion of a 3x3 grid. Certain formations or alignments of enemies on this grid have the chance to greatly enhance the stats of each of them, which can become a huge problem rather quickly, but to counteract this, players can attain certain skills which have the power to to alter the formation in which the enemies lie. This really adds to the tension of each battle, and with the wide range of both magical and physical attacks on top of this, it really is one of the most exciting aspects of the experience. You can expect the game to last you about 40 to 50 hours thanks to the generous amount of content, including side quests as well as the main narrative. So if you're looking for an RPG to get stuck into on the DS, Radiant Historia truly offers the best of the bunch.